The UN has warned of an impending humanitarian crisis in Niger after the new military junta suspended the activities of UN agencies in what it's called military operation zones. The army took power in a coup in late July amid Islamist militant insurgencies. More than 3 million people already face food insecurity in Niger, and prices have increased 20% since the coup. Meanwhile, the junta says it is dismayed by remarks from France's President Emmanuel Macron, calling them interference. He has continued to affirm Paris's support for Niger's deposed president, Mohamed Bazoum. Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News. Let's take a look now at some other headlines. U.S. officials say that Ukrainian forces have made, quote, notable progress in their push against Russian positions in the south of the country. White House National Security spokesman John Kirby says those gains were made in the past 72 hours near Zaporizhia. On Friday, the Russian Defense Ministry said that it had made gains outside the city of Kupiansk. Neither claim has been verified. At least 3 Swedish party leaders are boycotting this year's prize ceremonies after the Nobel Foundation invited the Russian ambassador. They say the move is irresponsible because of Russia's continuing war against Ukraine. The invitation is a reversal from last year when the private foundation declined to invite Russia. And a popular female bear has been shot dead on the outskirts of a town in central Italy. A man has claimed that he opened fire on the animal out of fear. The bear, named Amarena, was filmed earlier this week roaming around a town in the Abruzzo region with her 2 cubs. A local governor said no bear had ever threatened residents. Tens of millions of people in Hong Kong and neighboring southern China are sheltering indoors as Typhoon Saola passes over the South China Sea. It has skirted southern Hong Kong, but the city has been lashed by high winds that have toppled trees. These are pictures from the Chinese city of Shenzhen. And further north, 800,000 people have been evacuated in China's Guangdong province. Its governor has called on the public to engage in a state of near war against the storm. India is ramping up security, preparing to host world leaders at the G20 summit in New Delhi next week. The country is rolling out anti-drone systems and has put 130,000 security officers in place, though there are reports that China's President Xi Jinping will not attend. He had met with India's Narendra Modi at the BRICS summit last week, but tensions remain high between the 2 countries. On Tuesday, India lodged a strong protest after Beijing published an official map which appeared to lay claim to a large tract of land in the Himalayas over which India claims sovereignty. Now, Beijing responded by saying its neighbor should stay calm and not over-interpret the issue.
The Spanish football boss, Luis Rubiales, has again insisted he did nothing wrong by kissing the striker, Jenny Hermoso, at the Women's World Cup final last month. Hermoso has said she did not consent to the kiss, but Rubiales says he'll continue to defend himself. More protests against him took place yesterday in Madrid, Seville and his hometown of Montreal.
This month, children across the globe are headed back to school, but it doesn't come without mounting challenges for both students and teachers. The school year is already off to a rough start for some. In England, more than 100 schools were ordered to close on Thursday due to concerns that they were built using unsafe concrete. The concrete, which was used between the 1950s and the mid-1990s, is prone to failures and crumbling. Concerns about the concrete had been known for years. The UK's Education Department said it would work with affected schools on individual solutions. 2 schools in the US state of Kentucky announced that they had to close for in-person classes this week due to a rise in illnesses among staff and students. School officials said the drop-off in attendance was due to a mixture of viruses, including COVID-19 and influenza. Hundreds of millions of students around the globe are returning to the classroom, but instead of concerns about making friends or getting the best marks, some are dealing with crumbling school buildings and an increase in school violence, a shocking rise in depression and anxiety among children, along with disputes over what can actually be taught. Well, with the return to the classroom, there are rising concerns about children's mental health. According to a new Harris poll, 71% of American parents say their child experienced challenges in the last school year. These include safety concerns, academic problems, bullying, ongoing challenges related to the pandemic, and overall mental health difficulties. Meanwhile, a paper published in the Journal of Nature Human Behaviour found that students lost out on about 35% of a normal school year's learning during the pandemic when many schools stopped in-person learning. Thank you for that. Rebecca Peterson, US National Teacher of the Year. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much.
Book bans are on the rise in the US, with attempts to pull titles off the shelves of public schools hitting a 21-year high in 2022, according to a report from the American Library Association. A PEN America report lists over 1,400 instances of individual book bans that affected 874 unique titles from July to December 2022. Bans are most prevalent in Florida, Missouri, Utah, South Carolina and Texas, which tops the list with over 438 book bans. And they include works by acclaimed authors like The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, and A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. These titles depict stories that touch on themes of violence, sexual abuse, loss and/or LGBTQ+ topics. These provide new hurdles for educators in their classrooms.